Abhinav Siwach is with us in Indian Institute of Public Administration. He has secured All India rank 12th in the Civil Service Examination 2022.
Thank you, sir, first of all, for having me here. And introducing myself, I was born and brought up in Hisar district of Haryana, sir. I then did my graduation from Delhi Technological University in Delhi. I did my MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. Post that, I worked first as a management consultant, then as an investment banker. So then I decided to apply for the civil services. So in my first attempt, I was selected for Danix Civil Services, and currently I am an SDM under trainee with the South Delhi district. Subsequently, sir, I have secured All India rank 12 in the Civil Services Examination 2022, and I'll most probably get the Indian Administrative Services.
What is your main motivation which attracts you to the civil service?
Sir, first is the scope which is provided by civil services to create an impact on the society. Officers, in their limited capacities, in whatever roles they play in the civil services, can bring some small incremental changes in the society, and if those changes are institutionalized, then they lead to larger social changes. So civil services is one such career which provides this scope to bring such small incremental changes, and many officers in the past have done that, and many officers are continuously doing this. Second is, sir, the scale of operation which civil services provides. The scale is also scale, and the canvas is also broad, and one is able to impact lives of many people, lakhs, thousands, lakhs, millions of people. And third, I think, sir, is the diversity. Initially, in the initial phases of one's career, an individual, while working in the policy execution stage, works across different departments: revenue, excise, trade and taxes, transport, Jal Shakti Ministry, etc. And then, sir, they in the later stages they work in the policy design. So I think this diversity helps one enrich their career professionally as well as personally. So, sir, these were some of the reasons which I find civil services was providing, and that was my motivation to apply for the civil services.
There is a exponential growth in the material available. And now, what advice you give how to choose the material for preparation of civil service preliminary and the main?
Yes, sir, there is information overload. There are many material available in the market online to students, which may create some confusion in the mind of students. For this, firstly, sir, one should look at the relevance of the material, and this would come from looking at the previous year questions, both for the prelims as well as for the mains. So when a candidate looks at the previous year questions, then they would get an idea of, firstly, the topics from where questions are coming, and secondly, the themes which are coming. So then that would act as a filter, or that would act as a guide for the students to choose their material. So students would be able to prudently choose their material after having a look at the PYQs. And second, sir, one should follow the strategy and blogs of toppers. So there are many toppers previously who write blogs or who discuss their strategy, and they refer to some material. So I also, and many other people also, successful candidates, they look at these blogs, these videos, and these sources of toppers, and I think it helps separate the main material from the clutter and gives more clarity to the aspirants.
There are large number of people come from rural area. They are not so economically well off. How they select the material very specifically?
So firstly, with respect to general studies, there are standard books for each topic. Like for polity, there is a book by Mr. Lakshmikant sir that can be referred. For modern Indian history, there are two books. One is Spectrum by Rajiv Ahir sir. The other is Indian History by Bipin Chandra sir. Those can be referred. For geography, and sir, for both polity as well as modern history, NCRTs have to be referred. For geography, one can refer to class 11, 12th NCRT, for physical geography and other things. And similarly, sir, for environment, one can refer to NCRT, and one needs to refer to current affairs from the newspapers, the current affairs which come. Sir, for economics, one needs to refer to NCRTs, class 11, 12th NCRTs, as well as the current affairs which current affairs or current happenings of national or international importance which come in the newspapers. So for science and tech, it is mostly current affairs. So newspapers as well as some basic books of class 12th biology book, or if someone is not comfortable, then class 11, 12 physics, chemistry NCRTs also. So I think, sir, these are some of the standard material, and these are available on the internet. The list of these books is available on the internet, so anyone can access the internet and anyone can find out this list of books with respect to GS. And sir, with respect to CSET, sir, personally I used to practice the previous year questions. So I believe that if someone is comfortable, then they can practice the previous year questions of CSET, and that itself would act as a good material for one to sharpen their skills with respect to CSAT.
You will advise the young aspirant to fall back on the digital material or the traditional written hard copies?
Sir, it's their personal choice. Whatever a candidate or aspirant is comfortable with, they should go with that. I was comfortable with the digital material, but if someone is comfortable with the hard copy, then that can also be done. So it's a personal choice, sir. Whatever they are comfortable and whatever they feel convenient is.
Once you clear the preliminary, when you enter the main, is there any basic difference in the strategy of reading for preliminary and reading for the main?
Yes, sir, there is a difference in strategy. Firstly, sir, for mains, because one has to write a 150 words answer or a 250 words answer, one needs to have a more analytical bent of mind so as to write different aspects of the question. And secondly, one also needs to have coherence of thought, and also to ensure that that coherence is getting reflected in the answers. So for that, answer writing practice becomes quite important, which is not done in prelims, but with respect to mains, one has to do answer writing practice so that one is able to complete the paper in time first. Secondly, one is able to write analytical coherent answers and is able to fulfill the demand of the question. So while one is studying for the mains, having this approach in mind in the first phase when one is studying becomes quite important. So there is some difference which comes while one is reading the material for prelims vis-a-vis one is reading the material for mains.
What are the factors that determined your choice of the optional subject?
Sir, firstly, it was my interest in the subject. So during my management MBA at IIM Calcutta, during our term 3 we had some subjects related to sociology. So we had some course on Indian social structure and another course. So those gave me a bird's eye view of the subject sociology. They triggered my interest in sociology, and then, sir, while I was deciding to choose a subject for optional, sociology was one of the first choices. Second is not a very important factor, but second was, sir, the guidance available, the resources available with respect to the subject. So I think, sir, these two factors were used by me to select sociology as an optional.
In main exam, there are 7 papers which count towards the merit. 5 are compulsory and 2 papers are optional. Some experts say you have to keep the introduction to contextualize the question, and conclusion is very important because it's like a loaded gun.
Yes, sir.
So do you prepare the introduction of the question and the conclusion ready a priori theme wise?
Yes, sir. For some of the topics and some of the themes from where questions are coming, I had prepared the introduction as well as the conclusion a priori. Because, sir, because question can be molded here and there, so one would not be able to force fit that a priori prepared introduction and conclusion. So one would have to mold even the introduction and conclusion. But, sir, for some of the themes I had prepared. But then, sir, that doesn't help you 100%. That helps you only 75%, because GS questions are different and one cannot really guess the questions that would be asked. One can only know that these themes may be asked. So one has to apply, mold and change the a priori prepared introduction and conclusion even in the actual exam. So that creativity, that analytical bent of mind becomes quite important even if you have a priori prepared introduction and conclusion. Having said that, it is very important to do so, because that will reduce 75% of one's efforts while one is actually writing the exam, and it reduces your effort also, saves your time also, because as you said, 4,000 words are to be written in 3 hours, so one has to write very fast. So if one has something in their mind which they know can be molded here and there and can be written appropriately, so I mean that becomes quite important to have these things prepared, introduction, conclusion prepared.
One has to give nice anecdote, philosophical introduction, and then in the essay many people recommend you start from some theme and then end on that point. So what is your take on such approaches?
Sir, essay is a topic where one should put their own creativity, their own line of thought, their own understanding, interpretation of the topic on paper. Now that is different, that would be different for each individual. So one may have a framework, but that framework would be different for all of them. So sir, I think essay is a reflection of the overall personality as well as the interpretation of the candidate. So one cannot have any tailor-made approach to the essay, but one should have a general framework that I may start with this anecdote, or I may start with this quotation, and then I would introduce the essay, then I would bring the various arguments, I would substantiate the arguments by these examples from current socio-political economic happenings. Then I may bring a counter argument also, I'll try to substantiate my counter argument also, then I would conclude with my main argument. So one may have this kind of framework, but again sir, it one cannot have a straight jacketed approach to essay.
Absolutely.
And one should not have a straight jacketed approach to essay. So only having a basic framework with this structuring done, that I'll do this, and I'll have this content. So this structuring is important, but then what is very crucial is how you apply this structuring, and how you put everything so organically that it becomes thought provoking to the reader or to the examiner, that you've really brought out the argument, you've brought out the counter argument, and then you've concluded on either of these.
So far essay is concerned, you are saying one has to brainstorm
Yes,
before plunging into writing the actual essay. In 2022, one essay was there that ship is safest in the harbor, but it is not the ship is meant for. How you started and how you concluded.
So sir, here I started with anecdote of Dr. Anandi Bai Joshi. She was one of the first medical graduates in India back then in 1880s, in 1885 if I am not wrong. So I started with this, that given the society we had back then, the emphasis on women education was not that much, though there were social reforms that were brought out with respect to women education. So the metaphor was that Dr. Joshi, she was the ship, and she could have easily stayed with her family, and she could have had a easy life, she could have done the normal household chores, normal household work, but then she took the plunge, and she, passing through all the ordeals, she went from India to England, she took medical education, then she came back, she served. So in a condition when there was entrenched patriarchy, focus on women education was less, she passed through all the stormy waters, and she sailed through the seas, and finally she is now an inspiration for all of us. So I started with this anecdote, and then sir, I gave arguments as to why one should not, why a ship is not meant for the harbor, why it should sail, and then I gave some counter arguments also, and sir, then I concluded.
Now GS1, there was one question on the wind energy, the potential for the wind energy in India. That question was again quite thought provoking.
Yes sir.
And how did you introduce this?
So sir, I firstly started with data regarding the current potential of wind energy, how much is it, and in what different coastal states is it concentrated, which different coastal states have onshore, offshore wind energy plants. So then I referred about the potential, the current scope of wind energy, then the challenges that one faces with installation of wind energy plants or taking electricity from wind energy plants. Then I also wrote some of the way forward as to how there are government initiatives, government schemes which aim to enhance wind energy potential. And then, sir, I concluded that India, as a part of the INDCs under the Paris Summit and further, which have been revised under the COP26 Glasgow Summit, India has made a commitment to increase the share of renewable energy. So, under that, how wind energy would play a very crucial role in increasing the basket of renewable energy after solar energy. So, solar energy and wind energy, they're crucial areas where where India needs to enhance its capacity so as to be able to increase the share of renewable energy. So, I ended on these lines.
Coming to GS2, the procedure difference in the election of President of India compared to the President of France. So that's again a tricky question.
Sir. So, sir, I wrote about the procedure of election of Indian President. That is
very fair, straightforward. President of India, everybody knows.
Proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, and elected members from the parliament, from state legislative assemblies, they vote, and then it is proportional representation, and there is a single transferable vote. So this was procedure of election of Indian President. Then, sir, procedure of election of French President. And then, sir, I am not able to recall, but there was another part to it. There was another part to the question.
There was only one part.
Okay,
the difference between the election of President of India and the President of France.
Yes, sir.
You have to distinguish the procedure. Not the powers.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So then, sir, French President is directly elected, whereas the Indian President is indirectly elected through the representatives which people have elected. So I wrote on these lines, sir.
In GS4, there was a philosophical statement by Dalai Lama: judge your success by what you give up in order to get it. How you introduce and how you concluded.
So now this was a very interesting quotation, and this has various interpretations. So one can look at it this way, that for the current material progress and advancement that we've gone in the 21st century, we've destroyed our forests, we've reduced our tree cover, forest cover, we've encroached our wetlands, we've encroached on the land of our animals. So we've given up so many things to become materially advanced. So how do we look at progress? We've somehow damaged our environment to a certain extent, but we've materially progressed. So how do we ensure this balance? The other perspective to this is that, sir, we have our GDP per capita has increased, GDPs of different nations is increasing, but with this increase in GDP, the problem of poverty still remains, the problem of inequality in income still remains. There are various agencies which give reports on the income gap between the top 1%, top 10% and the rest. So we've given up on equality, on equity in the society to increase our GDP. So that is another thing. Thirdly, sir, ethically one may look at that with respect to individuals or with respect to other entities, one may be using unethical means to improve their material status or to improve their incomes. One may do some corporate embezzlement of funds, one may do some theft, robbery, fraud, scam to become materially advanced or to improve their income. So one has given up on the ethical values to become rich or to become materially advanced. So it's a very interesting quote as to how one interprets, and like we've talked about these three interpretations. So it was some of these interpretations which I put, and it is a very thought-provoking question as to how do you ensure advancement and progress. And like Bhutan has this gross happiness index. So we were happy initially. Now with so much of material advancement, so much of technology, so much of comfort available through air conditioners, through IoT, through artificial intelligence, we are still having that anxiety, stress. We are still not that happy. We don't have the inner peace and tranquility. So we've given up on the inner peace and tranquility to achieve this state. So how have we become more advanced? So these are some of the dimensions which
sociology is becoming very popular among the young aspirant. Just 1-2 question on sociology, that is your optional. Now French philosopher Durkheim, he said that society is more than the individual acts. How did you conclude this question?
So, Sir Durkheim, in his different works, has referred to that society and the social force plays a larger role compared to the individual. So, whatever individual does is not because the individual wants to do that; it is because the society wants him or her to do that. So this was the basic theme of Durkheim, sir. Then I refer to the different works of Durkheim, which refer to and sir, religion. Durkheim's study of religion also shows that religion is a form of collective manifestation towards a totem or towards the collective force of the society. So religion is also not an individual act; it is a social act where people express their solidarity towards each other and towards the society. So, sir, I gave these examples so as to convey what Durkheim referred by this thought.
And how did you conclude that? Because
Yes,
introduction and conclusion, to my mind, are very important pillars of your
Yes, sir.
good answer writing.
So, sir, then before the conclusion, I refer to other thinkers also who are contrary to what Durkheim said. They say that in society, individual is more supreme. So, individual will becomes more important than the collective will. So, I refer to them, and sir, then I refer to them also so as to give a different perspective that other thinkers think like this. They believe that every different activity is a result of individual's own conscience and individual's own liberty to do that. And then, sir, I concluded with that Durkheim's theory and Durkheim's works and Durkheim's thesis of individual and society has proved to be useful in the sociological perspectives, and that has helped us study the division of labor in society, religion in society, and that has expanded the sociological quest and understanding of the social phenomena around us.
When you went into the interview board, you were feeling some kind of nervousness?
Honestly, no, sir. I was
No.
not
So
feeling. I was
that's
excited to
fine.
meet the board.
And when the questions were asked, were you taken aback?
Sir, there were the honorable board asked some questions which were not expected, as in they had asked some questions which I had not thought that would be asked. So, but I was not taken aback, sir, because I had something because these questions were associated with my personality and with my experiences till now. So it was also not that they were completely out of the box, but the honorable board asked relevant questions, and because I had some years before, or I had somewhere thought about those things, so I was able to answer them.
Any mantra for the future aspirant?
So first would be to have honesty in their preparation, sir. One should be honest in their preparation. One should understand that one should not cheat oneself, and one should have a clear strategy that I have to do this thing today, and if one is not able to do that thing, then they should try to do it the next day. They should not leave it. So one should be honest with themselves in the strategy and in the rigor that they go through. And the second would be, sir, to find the why of joining civil services, because it's a long process. Prelims, mains, interview, it's a very long drawn out process. So unless one is clear with the why as to why do they want to join civil services, then this rigor of the three stages becomes quite easy, and one is motivated every single day to prepare for the civil services. So one should also have a clarity of thought as to why do they want to join the civil services. And third would be to stay optimistic, do not lose hope, because some people fail at either of the three stages. But then again, is just a temporary setback. If not this year, then they'll crack it that year. So one should be optimistic, and one should have faith in themselves that they'd be able to do this very soon. So one should have optimism and faith and continue in this journey.
Before we let you go, there's some rapid questions. So, how did you deal with some bouts of boredom?
So, sir, I do swimming, and my other hobby was analyzing performance of Bollywood movies. Whenever I used to feel bored, I used to go for swimming, or if swimming was not possible, like in winters or other seasons, I would watch Bollywood movies and analyze their performance. So that helped me rejuvenate myself and get back to studies again.
What makes you happy and what makes you angry?
This is a very tough question, sir. What? So, sir, individually, like fulfilling the targets that I've set for myself makes me happy. Socially, seeing smile on others people makes me happy. Like you're smiling, so this has made me happy.
That makes me happy too. You are smiling. So,
And so the second question, like what makes me angry? Again, sir, not able to fulfill my targets timely or efficiently would make me angry.
what best gift you have received from anyone so far, which you value the most?
Upbringing of my parents is the best gift. I think the upbringing and support of my parents till now, right from my childhood, that is the best gift that I've been getting year on year, and I value their support, their upbringing very much.
Thank you, Abhinav, for being here.
Sir.
All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.